Welcome to this edition of the 700 Club. To crush Kurdish heads. That's Turkish president's promise if Kurdish forces don't withdraw before Tuesday's ceasefire. In the chaos, Christians are being caught in the crossfire. Will President Trump look at it and reverse course? Here's Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem.
Before the critical Tuesday ceasefire deadline, SDF forces say they've evacuated the strategic town of Ras Al-Ain. But it may not satisfy President Erdogan, who not only says he wants to ethnically cleanse Kurds and others along his southern border, but also recently said he wants Turkey to have the nuclear bomb. According to retired General David Petraeus, the U.S. pullout in the face of Turkish aggression created an historic loss.
It took 10,000 Syrian Kurd losses, years of effort by our special forces and others, and by the way, our British and French allies who are also having to pull out because they can't stay if our infrastructure is not there. It took all of that, and then in a single period of a couple of days, we are abandoning all of that on the battlefield.
For Syrian Christians, it created a catastrophe. Along the Turkish-Syrian border, reports are emerging of Christians living, dying, and fleeing in the face of a Turkish onslaught aided by jihadist troops. They hope their pleas reach the Christians of America. In Sarikani, Rouhani TV interviewed Ziya Musa, the only Christian left in town. He said the Turkish state is destroying the Christian churches and heritage and trying to annihilate the Christians from this region. Rabbi Abraham Cooper of the Simon Wiesenthal Center learned more about the plight of Christians after the Turkish invasion.
CBN was kind enough to supply me with a very lengthy email literally from the front lines. It was so disturbing, and I was so disturbed by it that I actually sent it along to the Secretary of State and to the Vice President.
Cooper, like many other leaders, hope President Trump will reverse course.
It is a disaster. The president has been known to change course pretty quickly. I think I would join those who hope and pray that he flexes more muscle, both in terms of the sanctions, which have an impact on Erdogan, and if necessary, using American air power, which is still massive, to enforce a red line.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the ceasefire was designed to save lives.
The vice president could not have been more clear when we were speaking with President Erdogan in that Turkish-controlled space that there wouldn't be attacks on minorities, that this was about getting a ceasefire, a secure area, and that this, in fact, will save lives.
The ceasefire did open a window for people to find lost family members cut off by the fighting. CBN contributing correspondent Chuck Holton brings this exclusive report on the efforts to rescue wounded Kurds trapped in the town of Sarikani.
Over the past week, I've been traveling in Syria with the Free Burma Rangers, a small NGO headed up by a former Special Forces captain, Dave Eubank. The situation here on the ground is changing so rapidly, it's difficult to keep up. So here's some of what we've seen over the past few days.
I'm Dave Eubank, Free Burma Rangers. This is our medic, Joseph, from Burma, and we're here to try to help casualties now that the Free Syrian Army and the Turks have launched a massive attack, displacing over 300,000 people, wounding hundreds of people, killing people. There's people trapped in that village of Sarikani right now. 5 ambulances tried to make a run to get the wounded out. They were all blown up. Medics were killed, and we're trying to find a way to get there.
Later that same night, some good news.
We're hearing a ton of celebratory gunfire all over the village of Tal Tamr as people celebrate the announcement of a ceasefire with Turkey. And it might be ironic that they're shooting their guns to celebrate a ceasefire, but suffice it to say, everybody's very happy that there's a possibility, at least, of the Turks laying down their arms for now and an end to the violence.
But the fighting continued even through the ceasefire. Kurdish forces are living in fear of air and drone strikes, and on one mission, we got to find out why.
So right behind me is a horrific sight. The Syrians that have come in here from Tal Tamr are digging bodies out of the rubble from this house that was struck by a bomb. They've so far recovered 4 bodies, and they're just about to pull one more out of the house right there. Obviously, everybody is very somber.
very sad. There's a lot of people that are in tears, and I've seen people retching because of the smell over in the street. We're only less than a kilometer or so from the city of Sarikani, and they've been given 5 days to recover all of these bodies and the wounded out of there. But as yet, nobody has been able to get into Sarikani proper. So if this is what they're finding on the outskirts, they're not too sure what it's going to look like once they get into the city.
Nearing sunset on Saturday, something amazing happened. A 40 ambulance convoy was allowed into Sarikania, including our armored vehicles. What we're seeing here at the hospital in Sarikania is an absolute miracle. This group of Kurds has been trying to get into this town for 2 days, and it looked like it wasn't going to happen until the very last minute when this convoy of 40 ambulances was allowed to come in and take the wounded out. It's getting dark now, and now the hope is we can get out of here without anybody changing their mind. 37 wounded were evacuated to hospitals, and the mission was a huge success. But the next morning, we heard more wounded had come in and needed rescue. So we just watched as a large convoy of American troops pulled out and headed out of town. Ironically enough, the Free Burma Rangers are headed back into the war zone to pick up another load of wounded. And that's the new reality in Syria for now. I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
It's a humanitarian disaster, ladies and gentlemen, that was brought about by the precipitant action of the President of the United States. In other news, the President's Chief of Staff is trying to undo his blunder in the White House briefing room. John Jessup has more on that.
That is right, Pat. Mick Mulvaney is defending his remarks last week when he appeared to say that the administration held up aid to Ukraine in part to push that country to investigate Democrats in the 2016 elections. But Mulvaney now argues that wasn't what he meant.
I never said there was a quid pro quo, because there isn't.
And the president has canceled his proposal to hold next year's International G7 summit at his Miami resort. The president had said he would host the summit at cost, but the idea, Pat, sparked backlash from both parties.
I must say that Mick Mulvaney's getting a bad rap on what he said. He didn't say it was a quid pro quo, and what he said is it's normal to check the status of the people that you give money to, and that was a long time. It had nothing to do with some investigation of Joe Biden's son, Hunter. So I think he was misquoted, and this one, we've got to get it right, and the press jumps on all these mistakes, and it's just horrible to live in this kind of an environment where every word is taken and spun against you, and that's what's happening. John.
Democratic presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren says she does not support taking away the tax-exempt status from faith-based groups based on their beliefs on gay marriage. Fellow candidate Beto O'Rourke made headlines for saying religious institutions should lose the exemption if they oppose same-sex marriage. At a campaign rally in Virginia Beach, Warren told CBN News she doesn't share that view.
We have a long tradition in our country of permitting churches to make their own decisions about how they worship. I respect that tradition, and I would not change it.
Warren, though, did emphasize she is a strong supporter of LGBTQ rights. Well, search and rescue teams in Dallas, Texas are looking for victims after at least one tornado passed through the region late Sunday night. This harrowing video shows the frightening scene as it unfolds. The storm touching down near Dallas Love Field, causing widespread damage, leaving tens of thousands in the dark, and decimating this Home Depot store. Also residents have a long road to recovery.
Windows busted all over the house. The gas meter in the backyard is hissing. Our backyard fence, tree, patio cover, everything was just down, gone.
Fortunately, Pat, officials say so far there are no reports of death or serious injury.
Well, thank God for that. I have a daughter and family that live in Dallas and not too far from that Love Field area.
Could have been so much worse.
Oh, my goodness, yes. But we used to have a station right within a few blocks of that area, and it's terrible. So our prayers are with our dear friends in Dallas, and there are many of them there, and I they say it's personal to me as well.